Hello everybody, welcome to my channel, and on this video we're going to be doing part 5 of the Django documentation series. We're going to be focusing on testing. We're going to be focusing on testing, and we're going to learn about testing and all the beautiful things that comes with testing. So let's get ready to code. Alright, testing. What are automated tests? Testing operates in a different level. Some tests might be applied in a small project or in a small little place in your project. For example, you can test let's just open up our application here. You can just test if one of our models here is working, or you can test if a small little part of your application is working. And some other tests are actually used for the whole application. You can test a database, you can test so many things, right? So you want to make sure to test a bunch of stuff in your application in order for you to know if your application is actually working correctly. So why you need to create a test? I will say this. Personally, I don't really test much, but it's because I build projects for myself. And there's a file over here called test, right? Django already creates the test file for you, and if you want to be a better programmer, if you want to really work for these big companies, you have to get familiar with testing. I personally want to work for myself, so all this stuff is not really, well, it's time consuming for me. This is just my own use, but for you guys, definitely learn how to test. The benefits of testing is basically testing will save you time. It saves you time because once you know what your code is supposed to do. An example is, once you know once you know what it's supposed to do, well, you can write whatever code, or somebody else in the future can actually write on top of your code, and you're gonna get the right result, or it's going to tell you that you haven't written the code properly, or it's not giving you the result that you wanted. Tests don't just identify problems, they prevent them. And then also tests makes your code more attractive. If you want to apply for a job, and you want to look like you're a professional, make sure to have tests in your applications. People will look at it like, oh my gosh, this guy tests his own project. It's awesome, and the companies will love your project, because a lot of programmers don't trust, including myself, I don't trust applications or projects that have been developed that don't have test cases, because I don't know if the project actually works. You know what? Unless I actually know the developer, then it's a little bit different. And a lot of companies are, when you go apply, for example, you go to nd.com and you want to apply. Some companies will ask you for the test-driven development, or some company use test-driven development. And it just means their project are being tested as they're either building the project. And some companies even just they already know what they want, right? They already know they want their post to look a certain way. They know exactly what their website is supposed to do. So what you do is you create a test for what you want the application to do. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of testing. So we're going to create our own test. The first thing we're going to expose is a bug that actually comes with Python itself. So we're gonna go to test here. We're gonna go to polls/test, and then let me import a few things, and I'm gonna explain to you guys quickly what it is. So from Django test, we're going to import test cases, and from Django.utils, we're going to import time zone, and from our own model class, which is right here, we're going to import question. So now we're importing all the questions, and we're going to create a class question model test, and we're going to pass it a test case here. So this over here, if you read, similar to transaction test case, but uses transaction atomic, etc., etc. and most situation test cases should be preferred in transaction test cases, etc., etc. There's a function here called when you write a test case, you have to make sure to write the word test before the actual test itself. So over here, def test was published recently with future questions. So let's take a look at what's going on here. So we're trying to figure out what's published recently returns false for question whose publication date is in the future. So we're looking at the time, we're comparing the time now and the time in the future, the difference between the time now and the time in the future. And then we're over here, our future question, we're going to create this is the query that we're going to send to the database. And in the query, we're going to find all the questions with the publication date, which equals this time right here. And then we're going to actually run it using this command, self.assert is future question was published recently. This function here is going to run to actually test if the future question was published recently, and then it's going to compare it to this answer here. This is the answer that we actually want. If we wanted to say false, so we're going to save our application there. So now let's run our test. But the first thing that we have to do is actually activate our environment. So activate our environment. Oh man, script activate. All right, clear screen, and then we're going to run on Python. Let's run on Python project. Py manage.py run server to see if it's still working. Amazing. So now let's go and take a look at our browser, and let's refresh here. There is a beautiful project, and there's no choices, but here you go. There's the choices. You can vote for either ban or whatever your name is, and we can go in the back end and add more questions, but let's not do that for now. Let's go back here. So what we actually want to do is we want to exit the database. Not the database, we want to log off or turn off the server. And we want to test this. So if you want to test your test, so basically the way to run it is in Python manage.py test polls. Okay, I'm going to enlarge this to make it easier for us to see. So what happened? So manage.py test poll looked for test poll in the application. It found it. And once it found it, it compared it to what's published recently. And then the what's published recently returned false for question whose publication date is now, I guess. And this is the error here. As you can see here, there's a trace back. If you're familiar with Python, you're going to be familiar with this, because when you're troubleshooting your code, this trace back here gives you all the libraries that are actually connected to the error itself. But some people get like overwhelmed with it because it gives you basically all the errors from the actual place where the error is happening to the libraries that are being used. So if you're using a library that doesn't like the way you have written a certain code and there's an error, it's also going to include that error. But with practice, you will get it eventually. Like you will figure out that when this happens, you will know where to go. But in this case here, it's easy. Django makes it so easy. Like it tells you exactly where the error is. It even says the line 18 and test was published. Okay, so now let's go and find line 18. Look, line 18 is here. This is where the error is happening. This is amazing. So once you see where the errors happen, then you will know what your error is. So, and then it tells you how many tests it has ran. One test, and it took 0.01 second, and it failed. That's the only test that there was, and it failed. And look at this, it destroyed the test database, right? So this whole test thing, or this whole test application here, actually creates a database to test your tests, and then after it's done, it destroys the database, which is amazing. So now we're going to fix this bug, because since there's a bug, let's fix it and make it work a little bit better. So we're gonna go to polls models.py, and let's look at this code right here. So let's find mine was published, where they are, right here. So now let's fix this up here. Let's fix this up here to make it so that, just 1 second. Okay, is everything beautiful? Yeah. So now we have rewritten the was published recently so that the error doesn't happen. So we just wanted to publish, yeah. We just wanted to publish things that are published recently instead of things that are published in the future. And now let's save it, and now let's run the test again. So py test.poll, let's press enter, and look at this, we ran the test and it says okay. So the test has passed, and that means we don't have this error anymore. So the questions that are going to be published are going to be the questions that are being published recently. And we can also make the test a little bit better by adding more definition to it. But just go ahead and read the documentation, because there's a lot to learn. I don't really want to get too deeply into it. So this video will be short, because I kind of explain to you guys how the test works and how to make it, you have to get the concept, right? You have to understand the concept of the test. So you can go and read all about it and create beautiful tests for your web application. But my goal here is to teach you guys how to build projects, like just the project, not the test part. Maybe in the future I will teach you guys how to do like tests, but for this series here, we're going to be focusing on more like building the actual application. So again, this video was short, but I want to thank you guys for following my videos, following my channel, and make sure to comment, like, subscribe. This is a short video, but it is something that's very important for Python and even Django. It's even programming. It's very important for you to learn how to actually test your program to see if there's a bug in it, or to see not only a bug, but to see if there's going to be a future bug in the future if somebody even wants to write on top of your code. So thank you everybody, and bye bye.